Weymouth Wizards versus the Peterborough Panthers. And Peterborough, who have already been here once this season on knockout cup business, defeated on that occasion. The final score 50 points to Weymouth and 28 to Peterborough. Tonight the lineup is as follows for the Panthers. At number 1 their skipper Brian Clark. At number 2 Jack Walker. At 3 Ken Matthews. At number 4 there's rider replacement for Russell Osborne. At 5 we have Roy Carter, and the 2 reserves at 6 Steve Taylor, and at 7 Roy Sismore. And the number 8 tonight programme for Peterborough, because they're using rider replacement, is Ian Clark. That's a new name, of course. Moving across to the Weymouth Wizards, and another change in their side tonight. Nigel Cousins, who had a bang over the weekend, unable to ride tonight, and Tony Freegard comes back into the lineup. But running through from number 1, the skipper and inspiration to Weymouth this year, Brian Woodward. At number 2 we have Chris Robbins. At 3 the star of the Weymouth side, no doubt this year, is Vic Harding. At number 4 the programme change replacing Nigel Cousins is Tony Freegard. At number 5 Martin Yates, and the 2 reserves at 6 are Roger Stratton, and at number 7 is Melvin Soph. And the 2 respective team managers, of course, for Weymouth, Trevor Young, and for Peterborough, Ron Orchard. And the Peterborough team in fact won the toss and have elected for Heat 1 to go into gates 1 and 3. And the lineup in red Brian Woodward, in blue Chris Robbins, in white Brian Clark, and in yellow and black Jack Walker. Heat 1 then, New National League, Weymouth versus Peterborough. And whilst the 4 riders prepare themselves at the entrance to the pits for the start of Heat number 1, the referee tonight is Mr. Martin Palmer. And so the 4 riders make their way to the line for the start of Heat number 1. Peterborough in gates 1 and 3, and that's Brian Clark going into gate 1. Next to him in 2, Chris Robbins. In 3 we have Jack Walker, and out in 4, Brian Woodward. 4 riders now lining up for Heat 1. Green light goes on. Nudging the tapes here, Chris Robbins backs away and off they go. And getting away there is Brian Clark on the inside. Going right round the outside there in the red helmet we have Brian Woodward, but coming through in the second place Chris Robbins. Down the back straight for the first time, Brian Clark leads, Robbins second, Brian Woodward third, and Jack Walker at the back, and it's Chris Robbins now challenging Brian Clark as they come round a complete one. In the top turn, Robbins attempting to come under Clark. Clark leans back on the inside, and Clark just holds off Chris Robbins as they go down the back straight. Brian Woodward in third place, about 20 yards down going into that pit turn. Clark leaning on the inside line and giving no room there for Robbins to come through. And as they complete that 2, it looks like a shared race to open with anyway at the moment. Still in the lead there, Brian Clark powering his way round that top turn, and motoring quite well now as he comes into the pit turn, knocks the machine sideways and almost locks up too much there as he does so. Round he comes now to complete 3, takes the yellow flag. It's got about 10 yards now over Chris Robbins. Robbins locking up a bit too much on the top turn, losing valuable yards on this last lap. And Brian Clark still there in third place, unable to join the 2 leading riders. But as they come out of the pit turn for the last time, it looks good for Brian Clark of Peterborough. He wins the race in white, second in blue Chris Robbins, and third in red Brian Woodward. So the points shared there, 3 to Weymouth, 3 to Peterborough, and that's the progressive scores after Heat 1. And the winning time there for Brian Clark, a good one, 71.3 seconds. Moving on to Heat 2, the reserves. In red, Roger Stratton. In blue, Melvin Soph. Melvin, who of course secured his first maximum ever last week here against the West German select side. In white, we have Steve Taylor. And in yellow and black is Roy Sismore. And the 4 riders move to the line then for the start of Heat 2. Weymouth now going into gates 1 and 3, and that means Melvin Soph with choice of gate positions, it would seem, going into number 1. Next to him in 2 we have Steve Taylor. One of about 3 Steve Taylors, I think, in the New National League. Out in gate 3, Roger Stratton, and in 4, Roy Sismore. 4 riders now lining up, green light goes on, and a good start, and getting right away there, Melvin Soph with a real flyer as he goes into the top turn for the first time. In second place there, Roy Sismore, and Roger Stratton in third spot, though, going round the outside of Stratton now, going into third place goes Steve Taylor. And Taylor now back in a second place as he comes out of the pit turn for the first time. Sismore third, and Roger Stratton at the back as we start lap 2. So another drawn heat at the moment, but Steve Taylor doing nicely in second place. Sismore going very wide on the top turn, and Stratton has come under him and taken third spot. So a 4-2 now to Weymouth as they come round the pit turn, and Steve Taylor's place looking in jeopardy as Roger Stratton starts to increase the power and close the gap on him as they go into the top turn now with Stratton hugging that inside line, and the rider in white there, Steve Taylor, preferring to stay on the outside. Certainly Stratton has closed the gap as they go into the pit turn. Now attempts to come under Steve Taylor. Taylor holds him off as they start the last lap. Meanwhile, Melvin Soap well out into the night as he comes powering round that top turn. Roger Stratton now attempting to come under Steve Taylor, but he locks up, almost goes across the inside edge. In the pit turn for the last time, still Taylor leaning back on the inside, trying to keep Stratton at bay. And as they race round to the checker flag, it's going to do just that. The winner in blue, Melvin Soap. Second in white, a good ride from Steve Taylor. And third in red, Roger Stratton. 4-2, favour the Wizards. And they go into the lead now for the first time tonight. The progressive scores, Weymouth 7 and Peterborough Panthers 5. And Melvin Soap produces his fastest time here at Weymouth so far this season, a time in fact of 72.3 seconds. And last week, of course, as I said earlier, Melvin did get his first ever maximum, but his times were noticeably slower than the other races. But tonight he's putting that to rights because 72.3, very creditable for Melvin Soap. Moving on then to Heat 3 in red, Martin Yates in blue, the programme change, Tony Freegard. In white is Roy Carter, and almost certainly Brian Clark will be the rider in yellow and black. And the first riders to the line for Heat 3, Martin Yates, who goes in at gate number 2, and next to him in 3, Brian Clark, having his second ride in 3 races. They're lining up now from the inside, Roy Carter in 1, Martin Yates 2, Brian Clark 3, and Tony Freegard 4. The green light's on. And away they go, and it's Martin Yates who makes the gate. They're going to win Roy Carter, but it's Yates who goes in a turn first. Clark riding round the outside of Carter now, and Freegard doing the same. And as they go down the back straight, a good bit of passing there on the first turn. And Roy Carter going from second to last. And as they come out of the pit turn now, Freegard looking good as he challenges Brian Clark. Onto lap 2 we go. Martin Yates in the lead, Clark second, Freegard third, and Roy Carter, a heat leader of course for the Panthers, at the back at the moment. He'll want to improve on that performance. In the pit turn they go, trying to come under Freegard, but Freegard, who wants to make his impression, getting his chance back in the team with the absence of Nigel Cousins. And Freegard doing well, holding out third spot as they come round the top turn. Roy Carter unable to come back under him, but the race spreading out a little bit now. Martin Yates away into the night. He powers his way round that pit turn. He's got a good 30 yards now on Brian Clark second. In third spot there, Tony Freegard. And that's how it is as we go into the last lap. The riders well spread out. Roy Carter's trying to keep Tony Freegard within sight. But Freegard looking solid there in third spot. And it's a 4-2 to Weymouth as they come round the pit turn for the last time. Martin Yates straightens up to take the checker flag, the winner in red. Second in yellow is Brian Clark, and third in blue, Tony Freegard. 4-2 then favour Weymouth. They increase the lead now. The score's Weymouth 11, Peterborough 7. And Martin's winning time for heat number 3, the fastest of the night so far, 71 seconds. And that is in fact just half a second outside the existing track record, which is of course held by John Davis of Reading. So a 4-point lead for Weymouth then as we go into heat 4. No Weymouth rider has yet failed to score. Everybody there adding to the Weymouth contribution. And as far as Peterborough are concerned, 5 of their 7 points scored by their skipper, Brian Clark. Moving on to heat 4 then. In red, the first appearance tonight of Vic Harding. In blue, Roger Stratton. In white, we have Ken Matthews, a very solid heat leader for the Panthers. And in yellow and black, Roy Sismore. On then to heat 4, and lining up from the inside is Roger Stratton in gate number 1. Next to him in 2 is Ken Matthews. In grid 3 we have Vic Harding, and out in 4 Roy Sismore. Harding and Matthews having their first rise. 4 honours revving now, green lights on, and away they go, and it's a fly there by Ken Matthews. He goes into the turn ahead of Vic Harding. Harding attempting to round his outside on the top turn, and Matthews comes out to meet the challenge, holds his lead going down the back straight. Harding second, Stratton third, and Roy Sismore at the back, and Sismore attempting to go right round the outside of Stratton, picks up grip on the outside, locks up as he completes the turn, and back through in the third place comes Stratton. Into the top turn they go again. Harding now trying to get on the inside of Matthews, but Matthews with plenty of speed in that machine. Still holding out Vic Harding. 2 races going on now with Matthews and Harding having a real dice at the front. And back there in third spot, Stratton holding off a determined challenge by Roy Sismore. On to lap 3 we go. Still Matthews in the lead, and Harding almost drops off there on that top turn. He's trying too hard. And Matthews in fact pulling away from Harding. Harding making too many mistakes in trying to close the gap. And as they come out of the pit turn again, it's still Matthews in the lead. Harding second, and way back there in third spot, Roger Stratton. Into the top turn they go for the last time. Matthews going slightly wide. Harding trying to come under him, and again locking up. But Harding trying all the way there. You can't fall in for that. Into the pit turn for the last time, and it's still Matthews hugging that line. Harding trying to come under him. He gets under Matthews. There's a race to the line, and it's nothing in it, but it's Matthews who gets the verdict by a half a tire, I would think. And Matthews almost coming off there as he completes the race. What a terrific dust-up between those two. Vic Harding shaking hands with Ken Matthews now as they go down the back straight. But it was Ken Matthews, the winner in white, second in red, Vic Harding, and third in blue, Roger Stratton. Well, I'm very surprised there. In fact, the decision went to Vic Harding. There certainly wasn't much in it between those two. But I'm right here on the starting line, exactly level with it. And it was certainly Ken Matthews whose tyre went across that line first. But nevertheless, the referee, Mr. Martin Palmer, decrees Vic Harding the winner of that race in red. Second in white, Ken Matthews. Third in blue, Roger Stratton. So there's a 4-2 again to Weymouth. Their third consecutive 4-2, in fact. And that gives them now a 6-point lead after 4 races. The scores, Weymouth 15 and Peterborough 9. So after the minimum amount of races, Peterborough can now bring in a tactical change and in fact choose their gate positions. And the time there for Heat 4 was 72.5 seconds. Moving on to Heat 5, Martin Yates in red, Tony Freegard in blue, in white is Brian Clark, and in yellow and black, Jack Walker. And there are no changes to this lineup. No changes from the Peterborough side, and they are going in their gate positions as per the programme. Gates 1 and 3, they are the favoured positions here at Weymouth. And it's Brian Clark in 1, Yates 2, Walker 3, and Freegard in 4. The green light goes on, and away they go. And it's Brian Clark who gets away from the inside together with his teammate Jack Walker. And Martin Yates now coming under Walker as he goes very wide. Freegard comes under as well. And Jack Walker finds himself well and truly at the back as they go into the top pit turn for the first time. And Martin Yates now closing on Brian Clark as they complete lap number 1. Clark then in the lead. Yates attempting to come under as they go into that top turn. And Clark's gone slightly wide and Yates doing a bit hard in there. Almost under him as they race down the back straight into that pit turn. Yates looking dangerous in this one. And Brian Clark's going to have to look to his laurels to stay in the lead. Yates now coming under him as they come out of the pit turn. And he takes the initiative as they complete lap number 2. Into the top turn they go then. Yates now in the lead. Clark second attempting to come back under. And Clark getting into all sorts of trouble there as he tries to live with Martin Yates. Into the pit turn they go again. And Yates this time locks up as he hugs the inside line. Clark goes round the outside. But Yates still leads as they pass the yellow flag. Start the last lap. In third spot there, Tony Freegard. And out of this one at the back, Jack Walker. Down the back straight for the last time. Martin Yates still holding his own there as they go into the pit turn, locks up on that pit turn, but Clark does the same. And as they race round to the line, it's a win in red for Martin Yates. And that's his second of the night. Second in white, Brian Clark, and third in blue is Tony Freegard. So yet another 4-2 to Weymouth, increasing their lead. The scores Weymouth 19 and Peterborough 11. And Martin's time this time exactly 1 second outside the track record, 71.5 seconds. 71.5. And as we go into Heat 6, obviously we're looking now to Ron Orchard, the team manager of the Panthers, to make some changes to bring Peterborough back into this match. So 19-11 down, that's 8 points, and they line up for Heat 6 with Ken Matthews in white and Steve Taylor yellow and black. The representatives for the Wizards are Brian Woodward in red, Chris Robbins in blue. So the 4 riders quickly come to the line then for Heat 6, and the presentation certainly a lot slicker here at Weymouth tonight than it's been for a long, long time. And we are running, in fact, to schedule, 5 minutes per race, and that's good to see. The riders come into the line. It doesn't appear to be any changes from the inside. The only changes being that Peterborough going into gates 1 and 3. And it's Ken Matthews in 1, Brian Woodward in 2, Steve Taylor in gate number 3, and out in 4 is Chris Robbins. 4 riders then lining up for Heat 6. Green light goes on, and it's Robbins nudging the tape for the second time tonight, and away they go, and getting away on the inside is Ken Matthews. And Chris Robbins here with him, and it's Robbins who goes round the outside of Matthews. Matthews comes back on his inside, but down the back straight it's Robbins who leads, and now Woodward's come powering under Matthews. They go into the pit turn, and Matthews attempting to come back round the outside of Woodward, and as Woodward locks up, it's Matthews back in the second place. On the lap 2 we go, and Woodward certainly looking more determined than ever in this one. And as they come round the top turn here again, attempts to come under Matthews, locks up once more, and Matthews holds on to second place, but Woodward the faster rider into that pit turn again. And certainly he's got to make impression shortly. Robbins pulling away his advantage. And as we go on to lap 3, it's still Robbins in the lead. Matthews preferring to ride the balls in this one. And he's not really picking up the extra grip that he would like to out there. In third spot still is Brian Woodward, but now Matthews riding right round the outside of Robbins as Robbins locks up. And Robbins has lost his lead, and it's Matthews who goes into the lead as we start the last lap. Good bit of riding by Matthews, determined as ever to keep going. And he's holding on to that lead now as they go down the back straight for the last time. Chris Robbins second and Brian Woodward third. And as they come out of the pit turn for the last time, Robbins' chance now gone, and it's Ken Matthews, a good winner in white. Second in blue, Chris Robbins, and third in red, Brian Woodward. So Ken Matthews showing a bit of determined fighting spirit there, coming through from the back, having already been taken once by Chris Robbins. Chris Robbins then finishing second, Brian Woodward third. The points shared, 3 to Weymouth, 3 to Peterborough, and the progressive scores, there's still 8 points in it. Weymouth 22, Peterborough 14, and the time there for Ken Matthews, 73 seconds. On then 2 heat 7, Vic Harding rides in red, Roger Stratton in blue, in white Roy Carter, and I would think in yellow and black this time will be 2 on the trot for Ken Matthews. And a good bit of team managing by yours truly tonight, because the rider in yellow and black, as predicted, is Ken Matthews. And an interesting tactical situation going on, because Ken Matthews is riding in yellow, but not as rider replacement, as a tactical substitute. And this, of course, can affect things later on in the match, because if this is done the wrong way round, there could be an occasion where that rider could only have 5 rides instead of the 6 which he is allowed. One as a tactical change and of course one under rider replacement. So it's a tactical change this time in yellow and black, Ken Matthews for Russell Osborne. Now let's see riders get pushed off then from the pits. Another dust up now between Vic Harding and Ken Matthews, and with Ken Matthews being the winner of the last race, seat number 6, who obviously want to get 2 on the trot, and this time has a convincing defeat of Vic Harding. And it's Peterborough going in the gates 1 and 3. Going into 1 is Roy Carter. Next to him in 2, Vic Harding. In 3 is Ken Matthews. And out in 4, Roger Stratton. 4 riders now lining up for heat 7. 3 lights on, and away they go. And it's Vic Harding who gets away with Roy Carter this time. Ken Matthews slow away from the start. He goes around the outside of Carter as they come out on the top turn in the second spot. Vic Harding leading as they go into the pit turn for the first time. Matthews second, Carter third, and Stratton now going round the outside of Roy Carter as they come out of the pit turn. Carter attempting to come back under him, but it seems that Stratton's got the initiative. But as I say that, going into the top turn, Carter comes back under and hangs on grimly the third spot, but going up in the lead there, Vic Harding, and he's pulling away now from Ken Matthews second, Carter third, and Stratton at the back. That's how it is. They come round a complete 2, and that means the shared lead at the moment. Weymouth still 8 points in the lead. Ken Matthews unable to close the gap this time on Vic Harding, but Matthews along with Brian Clark proving the mainstay of the Panthers lineup tonight. Round the pit turn they come then, Harding about 30 yards up now on Matthews as we start the last lap, and Matthews with a lot of work to do if he wants to close the gap on Harding. So although Harding may not really have won the last duel between these two, he's certainly going to make sure of it this time. Into the pit turn for the last time, hugging that white line, straightens up at the earliest possible moment and chases a checker flag. The winner in red, Vic Harding. Second in yellow, Ken Matthews. And third in white is Roy Carter, gaining his first point of the night. So the points shared, 3 to Weymouth, 3 to Peterborough. Progressive scores still 8 in it. Peterborough now moving up to 17, and of course Weymouth on 25. And the winning time there for Vic Harding, 72.2 seconds. Moving on to heat 8. Always a favourite, in fact, 4 tactical changes. So let's see what the Panthers can produce in this one. In red we have Chris Robbins. In blue, Maximum Man Melvin Soth. In white, Jack Walker. In yellow and black, Roy Sizemore. Heat number 8. And a double change, in fact, for the Panthers in this one. A double tactical change. Riding in white, Brian Clark. And in yellow and black, Roy Carter. And a line-up, of course, for Weymouth once more, Chris Robbins and Melvin Soth. And not surprisingly, Peterborough also choosing gate positions. They're going into 1 and 3. And that means going into 1, now being pushed off from the pits there, will be Roy Carter. Next to him in 2, Melvin Soth. In 3 is Brian Clark. And out in 4 we have Chris Robbins, who has scored 2 consecutive second places. Was leading one race, lost his chance against one of the leading Peterborough riders. That was of course Ken Matthews. 4 riders now lining up. Green lights on, and pushing the tapes again. Chris Robbins backs away and off they go, and getting away there is Brian Clark. And on the inside of Brian Clark, fast gaining Melvin Soth. Round the outside goes Chris Robbins, and Clark looks right up there, and he causes all sorts of aggravations for the 2 following Weymouth riders. But going into the pit turn, Carter now going round the outside of Soth. Robbins in the second place. but as they come round and complete lap number 1, it's Ron Clark in the lead. In second place, Chris Robbins, Melvin Soap third, and Roy Carter again attempting to go round the outside of Soap as they come out of the top turn. Soap holds him off, and going into that pit turn now, not a lot of distance between all 4 riders. The most dangerous looking at the back there, Roy Carter challenging Melvin Soap's third spot for the first Peterborough heat win of the evening. And as they come round the top turn now, certainly Carter not going to want to try, and still at the back there, trying to close that gap on Melvin Soap. Nothing between those 2 riders, that's where the race is. Carter now going round the outside of Soap on the pit turn as Soap knocks up and Soap back on the inside. And as they start the last lap, it's still Soap hanging on the third place. Meanwhile, up in the lead there, Brian Clark going down the back straight for the last time, Chris Robbins second, and Melvin Soap hanging on the grim death there in the third spot, hanging on from Roy Carter, trying to come round his outside as they come round the pit turn for the last line, and Soap's going to hang on to that third place. A good ride there by Melvin Soap. He's had a few wins in the last week or so, but certainly no harder racing than he had in that one, keeping Roy Carter behind him, and that's certainly proving just how capable Melvin Soap is now becoming. And when you remember that lad is just 16, that's some going. So the winner then in white, Brian Clark, second in red, Chris Robbins, and third in blue. Good ride there from Melvin Soap, and he gets a bonus point for his trying there to stay behind his teammate Chris Robbins. So the points shared, 3 to Weymouth, 3 to Peterborough. Progressive score still 8 in it. Weymouth 28, Peterborough 20. And the time there, 72.4 seconds for Brian Clark. On to heat 9, Martin Yates rides in red. In blue, Tony Freegard. In white, Ken Matthews. And in yellow and black, Steve Taylor. Martin Yates unbeaten after 2. From the inside with Peterborough in gates 1 and 3. It's Taylor in 1, Yates 2, Matthews 3, Freegard gate number 4. Green lights on. And Yates and Matthews keen to get away, and away they go, and it's Martin Yates who makes the gate. Matthews out there after him. And on the inside there in third place, Steve Taylor. At the back, Tony Freegard. Freegard riding round the outside of Taylor as they go down the back straight. And Freegard getting himself nicely in the third spot as they hit the pit turn. Meanwhile, Martin Yates pulling right away from Ken Matthews. Martin, who in fact has already had the defeat of Roy Carter back there in heat 3. And of course, Brian Clark in heat 5 now doing the same to Ken Matthews. And as they come round the pit turn, Yates looking good for a maximum tonight. He races round a complete lap 2. In second place still, Ken Matthews, and third spot going to Tony Freegard for another one of those Weymouth 4-2s. Going into the pit turn again, Martin Yates hugging that white line, and the 4 riders in this race spread out, in fact more spread out than they've been all night. On to the last lap we go. No race to this time. Martin Yates in the lead, Matthews second, and Freegard third. And certainly Steve Taylor, after a bright start tonight, now failing to please, having got a naught in his last ride, and he's going to fail to score again in this one. But as they come round now to take the checker flag, it's a win for Martin Yates in red, second in white, Ken Matthews, and third in blue, Tony Freegard. 4-2 favour Weymouth. Progressive scores, Weymouth increasing their lead now after holding just an 8-point lead for 2 races, but they go up to 32, and Peterborough 10 points down on 22. And the time there for Martin Yates, his third win of the night, 71.7 seconds. 71.7, and that takes us on to heat 10. In red, Brian Woodward having rather subdued night tonight, although scoring bonus points in both his first 2 races. In blue is Chris Robbins, in white Roy Carter, and of course we will have a change for Russell Osborne, rider replacement in yellow and black. And coming in yellow as a rider replacement is Ken Matthews. Ken Matthews, and the riders coming to the line then for heat 10. Peterborough staying in gates 1 and 3. And from the inside in 1 we had Ken Matthews. Next to him in 2 is Chris Robbins. In 3 in the white helmet there, Roy Carter. And out in 4, Brian Woodward, still looking for his first win of the night. Chris Robbins, who has been consistent in second spot in his first races. He's had 3 races, 3 second places, and on each occasion, or on 2 occasions, they've ridden together. Brian Woodward's followed him home. The 4 riders then lining up for heat number 10. Green lights on, and Chris Robbins again, keen to get away there. He's certainly been the lad for the tapes tonight. That's Chris Robbins. The 4 riders then lining up. Robbins again nudging the tapes, backs around as he does so. The tapes go up, but it's Chris Robbins that gets away. And he is that turn first in the lead. Brian Woodward riding round the outside now, Ken Matthews. But Matthews gets the initiative on the inside, stays in second place. Woodward comes under him as they go into the pit turn. But Woodward comes out very wide. They clash, and Matthews and Woodward are down. And a nasty looking fall there between both those riders. And that machine of Woodward's almost went over the fence there, and that looks bad. That looks bad. A great shame, because we've been going well tonight time-wise, and it looks like there could be a delay now, but that of course isn't the point. It's Brian Woodward who looks to be the worst for wear there, although it was of course Brian Woodward's fault, because he lost control. He went into that pit turn too fast, completely cut the line off and couldn't turn in time, and he lost control, went very wide, and Ken Matthews went powering into him. Matthews seems to be up, and it seems to be Brian Woodward who is in trouble after that fall. The red exclusion light has come on for Brian Woodward, and a lot of people now milling over at that pit turn. Let's hope Brian is okay. Of course will mean a rerun with just 3 riders, Brian Woodward being excluded for being the primary cause of the stoppage. And further bad news, in fact, I didn't realise that both those riders were still on the deck, and in fact both being stretchered off. Brian Woodward has just gone off, and Ken Matthews now a candidate for the second stretcher here tonight, and he's going to be carried off as well. That's bad news, and let's hope that both those riders are okay. And I've just spoken to the first aid here on the centre. Bad news on both points there. Brian Woodward and Ken Matthews now joining each other in the ambulance. They're going down to the hospital, and in Brian's case it looks like some bad cuts and abrasions about the face, and cracked ribs is the bad news there for Ken Matthews. So that's the news on those 2 riders. It's a restart. It's Steve Taylor who comes in for Ken Matthews, who's unable to come into Heat 10. And it's Taylor who goes into Gate 1. Next to him in 2, the lone Weymouth wizard, Chris Robbins. And in 3 is Roy Carter. Just 3 riders then for the restart of Heat number 10. And the first chance here looks like for Peterborough perhaps to get their first heat win of the night. Green light goes on. Robbins again pushing those tapes. And he backs away, and as he does, the flags go up, and Robbins gets away. Steve Taylor with him on his inside, and Roy Carter on the outside. But as they come out of the top turn for the first time, it's still Robbins in the lead. Steve Taylor holding out teammate Roy Carter as they go into the pit turn, and Carter coming out a bit wide there as Taylor tries to, as Carter goes round him, and it's Carter now who goes into second place, but they're well behind Chris Robbins, and it looks like Chris is going to win his first race of the night and secure that Weymouth get the best possible out of this heat, and that of course is a drawn heat. Into the pit turn they go. Robbins pulling away now as he comes out of that turn, races round a complete 2. In second place there, Roy Carter, and well back in third spot now is Steve Taylor. No race finish drive. There's about 40 yards between the first and second place man, about 30 between second and third. And as they come round now the pit turn, the first rider to approach that yellow flag, Chris Robbins in blue, and still followed there by Roy Carter second. On to the last lap we go. Chris Robbins, who's going to take his tally to 9 points now if he wins this one. He goes into that pit turn for the last time, hugs that white line, comes out slightly wide, has got enough to spare, and he straightens up to take the checker flag. The winner in blue, Chris Robbins, second in white, Roy Carter, and third in yellow, Steve Taylor. Points shared 3 to Weymouth, 3 to Peterborough. Progressive scores of Weymouth 35, Peterborough 25. And the time there for Chris Robbins, 73.1 second. On then 2 Heat 11. In red we have unbeaten after 2 rides Vic Harding. In blue, Melvin Soph. In white, Brian Clark. And in yellow and black, Jack Walker. And of course with the 2 remaining races then, Heats 12 and 13. In Heat 12, Weymouth will be without Brian Woodward. And Peterborough, of course, will be out without Ken Matthews. So both sides are going to lose 1 rider apiece from those respective riders, and they have now gone off to hospital. The riders then come to the line, and again Peterborough staying in gates 1 and 3, where they spent most of the time, in fact, since back there in heat number 5. And from the inside in 1 we have Brian Clark, in 2 Vic Harding, in 3 Jack Walker, and out in 4 Melvin Soph. 4 riders now lining up for heat 11. Green lights on, and away they go, and it's a fire from the rider on the inside there. Brian Clark, he goes into the turn first, ahead of Vic Harding second, and Melvin Soph on the outside. So it's Vic Harding now chasing that maximum, and he's got Peterborough skipper Brian Clark to beat if he wants to continue in that vein. Round the pit turn they come, and certainly Clark looking good in this one. He holds about 20 yards. We start lap 2. Vic Harding has got to really work hard now to close that gap on him. And as they come out of the top turn, he's knocked off 10 yards at least, and going down the back straight. It's still Brian Clark just by Vic Harding second. and these two riders pulling away from Melvin So third, and out there at the back is Jack Walker. Onto that three we go then, still Brian Clark, Vic Harding now making his presence felt as he attempts to come under, and Clark leaning back on the inside of the track, holds off the challenge there of Harding. Into the pit turn they go again, still Clark locks up there and he's gone wide and has left the gap there for Harding to come under, but Harding not near enough, and as we start the last lap there's still Brian Clark in the lead, Harding second, and these two riders are pulled right away now from Melvin So third, and straight at the back there Jack Walker unable to make any impression on this rally pole lane circuit. Round the pit turn for the last time, Clark still holding that lead, Harding trying very hard to come under, but in a race to the line, Harding unable to do what he did to Matthews, and it's a win in white for Brian Clark. Distinction indeed for that rider, the beating there of Vic Harding, so he spoils his maximum. The winner Brian Clark, second Vic Harding, third and Melvin So. Points shared, 3 to Peterborough, 3 to Weymouth. Progressive scores, Peterborough now moving up to 28, but of course Weymouth on 38, 2 points away from victory with 2 heats to go, and Brian Clark and Vic Harding having a real chinwag about that one down there on the back straight. Now in fact the rider in yellow there for Heat 11 wasn't Jack Walker but Ian Clark, the number 8 for Weymouth, getting his first ride there in yellow. So Ian Clark rode in yellow in Heat 11. The time for Brian Clark, the winner, was 73.6 seconds, 73.6, 2 points away from victory then Weymouth as we go into the penultimate race, Heat 12. Black, of course, there'll be a change for Russ Osborne. And there are a couple of changes for Heat 13. Obviously, Brian Clark now with problems. He left his machine on the back straight and had a ride round with Vic Harding last time out, and he has now got problems. He cannot come out for Heat 13, and it's Steve Taylor who takes his place, and riding in yellow is Ian Clark. And as the riders come to the line going into gate 1 is Steve Taylor. Next to him in 2 we have Martin Yates. In 3 is Ian Clark. And out in 4 is Vic Harding. 4 riders lining up for Heat 13. Green light goes on, and away they go. And getting away there in gate 2, Martin Yates, followed by Vic Harding. Obviously rather predictable this one, and it looks like a second consecutive 5-1 to Weymouth already. Martin Yates in the lead going into that pit turn. Martin looking for a full maximum if he wins this race. In second spot there, Vic Harding. Third place going to Steve Taylor. And at the back, having his second ride of the night, is Ian Clark. Pity there that Brian Clark couldn't come out for this one because it looked good. He scored 13 points of his team's total so far tonight. And obviously another ride there against the Weymouth top 2 would certainly have been a good climax to this meeting. But as we go on to lap number 3 now, no race to this 5. In fact, the only race is going on at the back between Steve Taylor and Ian Clark. And Ian Clark, in fact, has just come under Steve Taylor and taken third place. So this is going to have a couple of bugs to take home with him to Peterborough tonight. And as we start the last lap, it's Martin Yates in the lead, Vic Harding second, Ian Clark now in third spot, and at the back is Steve Taylor. Into the pit turn for the last time comes Martin Yates, Vic Harding not too far behind him, but it's a 5-1 to Weymouth as they come round and take the checker flag. The winner in blue, Martin Yates, second in red, Vic Harding, and third in yellow is Ian Clark. 5-1 favour Weymouth. The progressive scores and the final scores, Weymouth 48 and Peterborough on 30. And despite the fact that Martin Yates has scored a number of maximums this year, that was his first in new National League combat for Weymouth. So Martin Yates here winning Heat 13, and his time was 72.1 second. Running through the scorers for Weymouth, at number 1 Brian Woodward, of course he's off to hospital now. He scored 2, paid 4. Chris Robbins with 9 points, Vic Harding 10, paid 11, Tony Freegard, a good return to the team for Tony, 5, paid 6, Martin Yates a full 12-point maximum, Roger Stratton 2, and Melvin So a good score, 8, paid 10, 48 the final score for Weymouth. For Peterborough, Brian Clark had 5 rides, 13 points, Jack Walker 0, Ken Matthews 9, of course he's been carded off as well unfortunately, Roy Carter scored 3, paid 4, Steve Taylor 3, paid 4, Roy Sismore 1, and Ian Clark also on 1. They scored 30. The final scores, Weymouth 48 and Peterborough 30. And we've just had the usual start to the second half here at Weymouth. That's the flying lap, event 2. Tonight it was Vic Harding and Melvin So's turn. Vic Harding recorded a time of 17.5 seconds, and that equals the record held by Martin Yates, which he got last week. And Melvin So's time was a very creditable 18.1. So we move on to the second half racing, event 3, the Wessex warm-up, and there are a few changes in the second half. There are 3 in fact in this next race. In red we have Martin Hitch, who replaces Tony Freegard. In blue we have Glyn Facey, who replaces Ricky Owen, still waiting for a machine to be put right for him, so he's temporarily retired for a couple of weeks. In white we have Ian Clark, who of course is the Peterborough number 8 tonight. And in yellow and black, getting second half rides here at Weymouth, still enjoying his speedway, the veteran of the raceways, that's Jimmy Squibb. Sunny four riders come to the line. Nice to see Jimmy Squibb's now wearing a Weymouth race jacket. When he first come here for second half rides, he was wearing a Canterbury race jacket. And the riders coming to the line from the inside. Ian Clark goes into 1, in 2 Jimmy Squibb, in 3 Martin Hitch, in 4 Glyn Facey. Green lights on and away they go, getting away there on the inside, Ian Clark. Ian with the advantage of having already had a couple of rides tonight. In second spot is Glyn Facey. And Facey, a very determined man tonight, because he goes right round the outside of Squibb, and as they go to the pit turn, round the outside of Clark as well. And it's now Glyn Facey who goes into the lead as they come round to complete lap number 1. In second spot there, Ian Clark, third place to Jim Squibb, and at the back there, Martin Hitch. Down the back straight they go. Ian Clark trying to come back into this one, still in second spot behind Glyn Facey. Facey looking good in this one, he locks up a little bit coming out of the pit turn. Clark right behind him, still in contention for major runners. And as they come round the top turn again, it's Glyn Facey locking right up there, and he's left the gap. And Clark trying to come under him, but as they go into the pit turn, it's still Glyn Facey in the lead. Ian Clark second, and Jimmy Squibb in third place. Round the pit turn they come then. And on the start of the last lap, it's still Glyn Facey in the lead. Ian Clark pressing on there in second spot, trying absolutely everything to come to. Certainly looking good on his first appearance here at Weymouth. Into the pit turn for the last time, and this time Glyn Facey's gone very wide, and he's got right up as he tries to turn, but he's got just about enough to spare over Clark in the race to the line. The winner in blue, Glyn Facey. Second is Ian Clark in the white helmet, and third in yellow, Jimmy Squibb. Early winning time there for Glyn, 73.9 seconds. So we move on to the second half main attraction. That's the Carnival Trophy, and that's sponsored by the Supporters Club. 4 heats and a final. And for heat 1, in red we have Martin Yates, in blue Roger Stratton. In white is Frank Harvey, and in yellow and black Roy Sismore. So the riders come to the line, going into gate 1 in the blue helmet, Roger Stratton. Next to him in 2, Frank Harvey. Next to him in 2 goes Roy Sismore. In 3, Frank Harvey. And out in 4, Martin Yates. 4 riders now revving their machines. The green light goes on, and away they go. Good style, they're getting away on the inside there. Roy Sismore, they're going to win Martin Yates, and Yates goes right round the outside of Sismore into the lead as they come out of the turn, leaving the other 3, watching him go. In second spot there, Roy Sismore. Third place to Frank Harvey. Third place to Roger Stratton, and at the back, Frank Harvey. That's how it is. They come round a complete one. And Roger Stratton not looking as impressive here as he did in the earlier part of the match, although never has he been a gator, and he's got to do it all in this one from the back. Looking good in second spot there, Roy Sismore, but they're really dragging behind now because Martin Yates pulling away his lead as they come round a complete 2. Yates leads, Sismore second, Roger Stratton third, and Frank Harvey having his first ride of the night in this one, and he's out at the back. And the 4 riders well spread out now, not a lot of a race to describe to you. Martin Yates sheer poetry in motion there as he comes round the pit turn, making few mistakes tonight. On to the last lap he goes. Now joining Mick Harling, sharing that 1 lap track record. And as they go down the back straight, still Yates there increasing his lead at every turn practically. Into the pit turn for the last time. Yates then looking to be the first rider to qualify for the final. He goes across the checker flag now, the winner in red. Second in yellow, Roy Sismore, and third in blue is Roger Stratton. So Martin Yates goes through to the final. He rides in the red helmet. Martin's winning time 72.9 seconds. On to heat 2 with Kevin Pope in red for Brian Woodward, in blue Melvin Soph, in white Jack Walker, and in yellow and black Steve Taylor. And as the riders approach the line from the inside, in 1 it's Steve Taylor, next to him in 2 Jack Walker. In 3 is Kevin Pope, and out in 4, Melvin Soph. 4 riders lining up, green light goes on, and away they go, and getting away on the outside, Melvin Soph's going to win Steve Taylor, but it's Soph into the turn first, Taylor second, and Jack Walker riding round the outside of his reserve, Steve Taylor, and Walker having his best ride of the night as he goes in the second spot, going into the pit turn for the first time. But it's Melvin Soph who pulls away his lead, and it looks as if for the second week running, he could make it to the final. And Kevin Pope meanwhile trying to come under Steve Taylor as they come out of that top turn, gets into trouble as they touch. and the race is at the back for the minor places, and again as Taylor tries to come into that turn, his foot swept away from him as Kevin Pope comes under, but Taylor recovers well, comes back, and again Kevin Pope comes under as they go into that top turn, but he goes out, drifts wide, comes back on the inside, holds third place in front of Taylor. Meanwhile up the front there it's Melvin Soap pulling right away from the pack as he comes round the pit turn, and he's the first rider to see the yellow flag. On to the last lap, still Melvin Soap in the lead, Jack Walker second, and Kevin Pope now well established in third spot, but it's certainly again Melvin Soap's night as he goes into that pit turn for the last time, looking good. He rounds there, sees the checker flag, and he's the winner in blue, Melvin Soap, second in white Jack Walker, and third in red Kevin Pope. So Melvin Soap goes through to the final. He rides in the blue helmet colour, and that's quite a surprise as well, ironically, that Martin Yates won the first race in red and he goes through to the final in red. Melvin Soap won the second race in blue and he goes through to the final in blue. I wonder whether that will follow through the last two races. Mel Soap's winning time there for Heat 2, the fastest of the second half so far, 72.7 seconds. Good time then for Melvin Soap. Heat 3 in red, Chris Robbins. In blue, Tony Freegard. In white is Roy Carter, and in yellow and black, Ian Clark. On then to Heat 3, riders coming to the line now. Going into gate 1 is Roy Carter. Next to him in 2 will be Chris Robbins. In 3 is Ian Clark. And out in 4, Tony Freegard. Chris Robbins, who's been having some clutch trouble tonight, I understand. Hence his reason for being rather keen at the tapes. Trying out some new plates. 4 riders then lining up. Green light goes on, and away they go, and looks over at the start this time. Getting away there is Roy Carter, and Tony Freegard going right round the outside of Carter. Chris Robbins in third spot now being taken by Ian Clark, and Robbins finding himself at the back, coming back under Clark now as they go into the pit turn, locking up, but Clark unable to come back round his outside, but leading as they complete one is Tony Freegard. Tony, who made his return to the team tonight, scored a very valuable 5 points, and now looking a lot better than he did earlier in the season when he came back in the second half racing. Going into the pit turn now, Freegard still in the lead. In second spot there is Roy Carter, third place to Chris Robbins, and Robbins unable to close the gap there on Roy Carter as they go into the top turn. In fact, Robbins riding right round the boards and not really picking up the grip that he wants to slowly to close the gap there on Carter. Into the pit turn they go again, and still in the lead there is Tony Freegard. Carter seems to be easing off slightly there, and Robbins is now right behind him as we start the last lap. Into the top turn for the last time, and Carter's going out very wide. He's left the gap. Robbins not quite near enough to take it up, and as they're going to the pit turn for the last time, it's Robbins now looking dangerous. He stays on the outside where he's committed, but comes back to the inside as Carter goes wide in the race to the line. It's Carter who hangs on. The winner, of course, in white, in blue, Tony Freegard. Second in white, Roy Carter, and third in red was Chris Robbins. So it's Tony Freegard who goes through to the final, and he rides in the white helmet. And the winning time there for Tony Freegard, winning Heat 3, 74.3 seconds, 74.3. Moving on to Heat 4, the last of the qualifying races. In red, Vic Harding. In blue, for Nigel Cousins, we have Martin Hitch. In white is Brian Clark, and in yellow and black, Jimmy Squibb. So let's hope Brian Clark has now sorted out his mechanical problems. And there is a late change to Heat 4. It's Glyn Facey who rides in blue, not Martin Hitch. From the inside, it's Jimmy Squibb in 1, Vic Harding in 2, Glyn Facey in gate 3, and Brian Clark out in 4. So Vic Harding and Brian Clark renew acquaintanceships in this one. We're interested to see the outcome between these two fine riders. 4 riders there now, green lights on, and away they go, and getting left completely there was Glyn Facey, and it is Vic Harding and Brian Clark can get away. Harding on the inside, Clark on the outside. Clark takes it up, Harding sweeps on the inside, and it's Vic Harding who takes the lead down the rack straight. Clark second, and Jimmy Squibb there in third spot, not out of contention at the moment, but watching the masters of this race, Vic Harding and Brian Clark in first and second spot in this race. And it's Vic Harding hugging the line as he comes round the top turn there, certainly looking good again to make the final, and that will be the third, or the fourth I should say, Weymouth Wizard who does so. Looks like it could be an all Weymouth final. On to lap 3 we go. Vic Harding pulling right away now from Brian Clark, and even Jimmy Squibb there closing the gap on Clark, although as I say that he goes very wide on that top turn. And the 4 riders well spread out now going into that pit turn on this penultimate lap. It's still Vic Harding racing round to take the yellow flag. In second spot there, Brian Clark. And back in third place with the number 8 Weymouth race jacket on is Jimmy Squid. The 4 riders then still well spread out. Vic Harding pulling right away now from Brian Clark. And Clark's hand goes up in fact as he hits that pit turn. He's got motor problems again. And Squib comes through to take second place. And through in the third spot goes Glenn Facey, and Brian Clark pulls up right outside the pits. Couldn't be better, at least from the point of view of the walk, but of course he's lost a very valuable second spot. So it's Vic Harding who goes through to the final to ride in yellow. Bad luck there to Brian Clark. And Vic's winning time for Heat 4, 72.8 seconds, and he goes through to the final to ride in yellow. So for the Carnival Trophy final, the full lineup reads: in red, Martin Yates; in blue, Melvin Soth; in white, Tony Freegard; and in yellow and black, Vic Harding. But before that, the penultimate race tonight then, the reserves roundup, event 5, in red, Frank Harvey; in blue, Glenn Facey; in white, Kevin Pope; and in yellow and black is Jock Mackay. That's the reserves roundup, event 5. And in fact, Glenn Facey and Martin Hitch have swapped their races, because it's Martin Hitch now who comes into the reserves roundup to ride in blue. And the first riders to the line then for the reserves roundup, going out in the gate 4 there is Martin Hitch. In 3 is Kevin Pope, now being joined by, going in the gate 1, Frank Harvey, and in 2, Jock Mackay. The 4 riders lining up then for the reserves roundup. 3 lights on, away they go, and it's Frank Harvey who gets away on the inside, but he lets go there as they go into the turn. And it's Jock Mackay who comes out in the lead, pushing rather wide there, Kevin Pope. And Kevin Pope comes back on the outside, goes into the lead as they go into the pit turn. Jock Mackay looking right up, he's gone wide, and he almost puts Martin Hitch on the fence there. Certainly Jock Mackay looking very erratic in this one as he tries to stay with the leaders in this race. But as they go down the back straight now, Kevin Pope pulling well out into the lead. Jock Mackay second, and in third spot there is Martin Hitch ahead of Frank Harvey. And down goes Jock Mackay, and that's not a surprise the way he was riding. And he's left to get his own machine off the track, and if he doesn't do that pretty smart, this race will have to be stopped. And they just about pull him off in time, whilst meanwhile going into that turn again is still Kevin Pope in the lead. In second spot there is now of course Martin Hitch, and in third place is Frank Harvey. And they've spread right out now as we start this last lap. At least Jock Mackay causing a little bit of excitement in that race, although looking at every turn as if he could be a faller. Round the pit turn for the last time, a very easy one now for Kevin Pope as he crosses the line, the winner in the white helmet. Second in blue is Martin Hitch, and third in red, Frank Harvey. And the time there for Kevin Pope winning the reserves roundup, 74.1 seconds. On to the last race of the night then, and that's the Carnival Trophy final. And in red it's Martin Yates, in blue Melvin Soth, in white Tony Freegard, in yellow and black Vic Harding. So the 4 riders then make their way to the line for the final, and this could be quite an exciting race, because we've got Vic Harding and Martin Yates who have been the star performers tonight for the Wizards. Tony Freegard having a good evening, and Melvin Soth likewise getting away from the gate. It's Mel Soth who goes in the gate 1, next to him in 2 is Vic Harding, in 3 Martin Yates, and out in 4 is Tony Freegard. And we're waiting for Melvin Soth and Vic Harding to get themselves organised at the gate. Martin Yates and Tony Freegard waiting patiently out in gates 3 and 4 respectively. 4 riders now lining up for the Carnival Trophy final. Green lights on, and away they go. It's Martin Yates who gets away to get it with Melvin Soth. Yates into the turn first, Soth second, and Vic Harding attempting to ride round the outside of Soth. Soth holds him off, then locks up, and it's Harding who goes in a second spot, Soth third, and Tony Freegard now riding round the outside of Soth as they come out of the pit turn for the first time. On the lap number 2 then, Martin Yates in the lead, where he has been for the last 5 races, now having his 6th ride of the night. He leads going down the back straight. In second spot there is Vic Harding, and Vic Harding giving away points only tonight to Martin Yates at the moment. Down the back, the home straight rider they go, still Yates in the lead, Harding second, Freegard third, and Melvin Soth trying to get back into this race at the back for the first time this evening, but Mel riding well enough. And it really doesn't matter too much. Even a full place man in this race gets himself a couple of pounds. And as they come round to complete lap number 3, the riders spreading out in this one. Vic Harding trying desperately to close the gap there on Martin Yates, but Yates looking good and making few mistakes tonight. Yates going into the pit turn for the last time, hugging that line. Sheer poetry in motion now as he comes out, straightens up and races for the checker flag. The winner in red, Martin Yates. Second in yellow, Vic Harding. And third in white, Tony Freegard. So Martin Yates, 6 rides tonight, 6 unbeaten rides. He is the star of the Weymouth Wizards. Martin's winning time then for the Carnival Trophy final, 72.5 seconds. And whilst he receives his £12 for winning that race, and of course Vic Harding receives 7, Tony Freegard receives 4, and even Melvin Soth receives £2. And whilst that's going on, a reminder that the new National League match this evening was won by the Weymouth Wizards. The final score, Weymouth 48, Peterborough 30. The star of the Peterborough side, as quite often is the case, Brian Clark, able back in there by Ken Matthews, although Ken of course had a fall with Brian Woodward, which resulted in a hospital trip. And from Weymouth's point of view, a 12-point maximum from Martin Yates, Vic Harding with 10 paid 11, and another fine contribution from Melvin Soap with 8 paid 10. That's it then. This is Alan Merridew signing off once more from Weymouth Speedway.